Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is, wherever you are. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Backlog Busting Project. This is episode 16, the fifth and final episode of Metal Gear Month. My name is Wes. With me, as always, is Randy.
I don't know about you, Wes. 9 games in. Well, 8.5 for me, but we'll get into that. I'm feeling a little Metal Gear fatigue finally. Like, I wasn't at all until we hit this set of games, and not saying like these games are any worse. Well, one is, but the other 2 games we played are awesome. It was just 9 games worth in a month. We kind of pushed ourselves a little bit.
Yep. I kind of get that feeling a little bit too, but it was an experience. We'll put it that way.
And it's an experience I was very happy with, especially with some of these games that I didn't get a chance to play.
Yeah, and
it gave me an excuse to go back and play some of these other Metal Gear Solid games.
Yeah. Well, I love how we're like doing the postmortem on the month before we even finish the month. So how about we do that first, and we'll go right into it with Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker.
Yes.
Which released originally for the PSP on April 28th, 2010. We played it, of course, as we played most of the games on the HD collection.
Not true.
You did. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I played it on the PSP version on my Vita, but it wasn't the HD collection. And
okay. Anyway, so I played it on the HD collection, which released November 8th, 2011.
Yes.
Anyway, that clerical stuff out of the way. This was an interesting one for me because I just remember Peace Walker is actually the game I bought a PSP for, and then the PSP's UMD drive promptly broke. So I did not get to play Peace Walker for a while, and then I just kind of went, meh, it's a PSP game. What could this possibly have to offer me?
Yeah, I was actually kind of the same way. Obviously, I mean, I had a PSP at one point, but never owned Peace Walker. My PSP lifespan wasn't long before I, got rid of it, because just like the Vita, Sony really didn't support it that well as far as great games and stuff. So I kind of skipped it, and then the HD collection came along, and I gave it a shot and played it about an hour or 2, and really didn't get through like the tutorial stuff, so I never really was able to dive into it. So I finally got to. And I don't know about you, but boy am I glad I did.
Yep. By the way, don't be checking your phones or anything. That was just my phone going off just now because I'm professional as fuck. My bad. Anyway, I kind of have the same thoughts as Randy there on Peace Walker. It's a rather interesting experience. Nice shot.
Shoot these scores.
You're very lucky you made that shot because that was my fucking phone, asshole.
Was it? Oh, my bad. Well, don't let it go off in the podcast. For those that are only listening and not watching, which is all 4 of you, I took Wes's phone and threw it in my son's bedroom onto the bed. Did 20 feet.
Yeah.
Hit the bed.
And I saw him wind up for it, and I almost tried to stop him, but I didn't want to go off track, and clearly we have failed in that mission. So, back to Peace Walker, shall we? So, yeah, I finally got into it, started playing. I had a bit less of a problem than you, I think, with the controls, because I was playing on the HD collection, so they
I was not.
Yeah, they kind of, took the time to add in options that took advantage of the fact that I had 2 thumbsticks.
Yeah, and that's kind of where my issue as far as the controls kind of went, as far as like the original game went, and I wish you would have. We didn't talk about the controls that much till near the end, so it wouldn't have mattered that much, but maybe go back, because I think both of us have said off podcast that we are going to go back and do a lot of the side ops and all that stuff, because we had so much fun with it, but go back and just change your control scheme to the old school one, where it only lets you have the one joystick, and try it. I'm curious if you would have as much issues as I did. Basically, to make up for the fact that the PSP only had the one joystick, they gave you the option to control the camera with the buttons. So, triangles, square, circle, and X. And then had all your action buttons on the D-pad. So it works out, for the most part, really well, unless, at least in my experience, that you have to move really quickly, or in some boss battles it became a little bit of an issue. But as far as sneaking around and getting headshots and stuff while you're sneaking, I had no problem with it. It was just that quick, decisive movement that you're used to from video games. It just isn't there when you're controlling the camera with buttons.
Yeah, no. I actually do remember that from some of what little time I could spend with Peace Walker when I had it on the PSP. I remember going, oh god. So, I can definitely remember. I feel your frustrations, let's put it that way. Control-wise for the PSP version. So I'm glad I got to play it on my PS3.
Yeah.
So.
And I will say, it took us a little bit to figure out how to transfer my Vita save to my PS3 so I could put in my HD collection, and we attempted co-op a little bit. Internet connection wasn't really working great for us.
Well, I'm sorry, but I have to tell this story too. We were fooling around with co-op search, and we found somebody. Not to go too deep into storyline yet, which we might do in a minute here. But we found somebody on the very last phase of the Peace Walker fight. Which, if you're not familiar with it, the very last phase of the Peace Walker fight is basically a controllable cutscene. Because I really don't think there's a way to lose this fight, because the mech is quite clearly destroyed, and you're just, making sure it's dead, pretty much. You're doing the gunfire equivalent of kicking it with a shoe to make sure it's down, right? And somebody was searching for co-op help on this. And so we decided, sure, why the hell not? We'll surprise this dude and help him. Well, here's the thing about that. We get through the Peace Walker, we get through the fight, quote unquote, and the credits start playing. Or the ending cinematic and the credits start playing. And that's when we found out we could not just drop out of the extra op. We had to sit here and wait for this dude to watch all the cutscenes. And it is at this point that we both realized that he had just beaten the game for the first time, or was trying to catch up on the story before Phantom Pain, because he sat there and watched all of the cutscene.
Which is fine. I mean, it took us a little extra time, but whoever you were, if you were playing with the Riz and Grinblade on your PlayStation Network, you're welcome.
Yeah. I don't know why you co-opted that mission if you'd beaten the game before, but if you hadn't, I guess you're welcome.
I will say, while we were doing other missions, he was looking for co-op help on the second part.
True.
Before that. So it looked like he was just looking for somebody every time.
Okay.
Which is great. But anyway, so that is a cool thing about this game. We didn't explore it as much as we would have liked, time restraints and stuff. But you can basically play every mission in this game with at least one other player, and up to 4 of you to go through a mission. And, what I liked is sometimes it would help you get through a part faster because you could lift somebody, or it would take 2 of you to get across something. Other times you could go on completely different parts of the map. Like one person can stay on that main screen, and the other person can just take off and be 3 load screens away, and it had no problems.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of stuff I really liked. I just would like to explore it more before I gave it the 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. I have no such reservations. I enjoyed what I played solo, and from what I've seen of co-op, like I watched a few videos of other people playing co-op and some of the weird shit you can get up to, and I'm sitting here wishing there was 4 of us, because there is one weapon in particular that I've seen that is absolutely bonkers in just the absolute perfect Kojima way. And, you know what, I'll just go ahead and say it. It's a human slingshot that requires everybody to be in formation. Like, 3 people have to have the parts in their inventory. Like, 2 people have to have the posts. 1 person has the band, right? Mm-hmm. And then the 4th person gets in and gets into the position. And then, you have to stand in formation and hold everybody has to hold the action button down. and then the guy pulling the band has to button mash to charge it up, and then you release it, and the person the person getting fired launches forward in a burst of fireworks while saluting, and does a tremendous amount of damage to anything in its path. Like, the video I watched, they one-shot a fucking tank with it. And I'm just like, yep, it's a Kojima game, alright.
Yeah, but, I will say from the little bit I have seen from trailers and stuff for, Phantom Pain, all of that kind of continues on. I've done everything I could not to watch any, Let's Plays or live streams or anything of this game. I want it all to be fresh when I finally get around to playing it, but yeah, you can see some of that humor and goofiness that we've come to love in Metal Gear Solid taken to a whole nother level in Peace Walker.
Yep. I think we're not going to go quite in depth on the storylines of these games as we have in previous episodes. And I know we've been saying that pretty much every episode, but we're really going to try to stick to it this time.
Yeah, we're not doing one episode for all three of these games, so we're gonna...
We're only doing one episode for all three of these games. We're not...
Yeah, not one for each. Excuse me. Yes.
So, basically brief overview. After the events of Metal Gear Solid 3 and, Portable Ops, Snake and Miller basically decide to, have their own Army Without Borders, basically.
Yes.
And they actually use the French pronunciation of the phrase, which makes me think of Doctors Without Borders. And they actually had to go to the point of going, even though it's kind of the same, we're not ragging on Doctors with Borders here. But, they're making their mark as an army without a country. And they get visited by this, Professor Galvez and, a student of his called, Paz. Galvez basically goes, hey, you need to help us. The United States is building a base in, Costa Rica?
Yes.
It's Costa Rica.
Or Nicaragua. I think it's Costa Rica, but it's right in that area.
Yeah, it's in Latin America.
Yeah.
But, one thing I did love straight away is Snake sees right through the bullshit and goes, hey there, Mr. KGB.
Yeah.
He doesn't get suckered in happened to some previous Metal Gear game, some previous. Solid Snake got fucking suckered in pretty much at least once a game by something completely fucking obvious.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was kind of refreshing to see a Metal Gear Solid game main character go, what the fuck are you trying to do? Really think I'm fucking stupid?
He gets suckered later.
Yeah.
But
True.
Not by him.
Yeah. So he still agrees to do it because Galvez, the KGB agent, which we'll go ahead and just call the professor for now, shows him a tape that seems to show the boss being alive. The boss being, of course, Snake's mentor, who got killed by Snake at the end of Snake Eater.
Yeah.
And so he agrees to do this mission, and they just, eventually they find out, the U.S. is bringing nukes into Costa Rica for some reason. And it just kind of snowballs from there into, this political intrigue, and, a gentleman by the name of Hot Coldman, which is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Reveals himself to basically be the guy that sets the entire series in motion because he's the one who planned Operation Snake Eater. And then he's also, testing his theory of, nuclear deterrence by creating the perfect deterrent in Peace Walker because it's an AI walking tank that will only retaliate but won't hesitate to retaliate like a human would.
Yeah, that's basically the whole point of this weapon. It's listen, if you shoot a nuke, it's up to another human being to decide to take you with them.
Mm-hmm.
And he feels that most humans won't. So he creates a computer that basically goes, if you shoot on us, you're screwed. Because we're going to fire back. And it's all about the whole, well, we're not going to fire on you because then you would fire on us kind of mentality. Which, in a weird way, kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But we're human.
Yeah.
And we'll find a way to manipulate the machine.
Yeah.
for our own benefits because we're sick bastards like that.
Well,
and that's basically what happens in this game.
Because to test it, he has to make Peace Walker think there's a problem, so he feeds false data to Peace Walker, which defeats the entire fucking point.
Yeah.
You know?
Because to prove to the world that this will shoot a nuke, he has to shoot a nuke, but Peace Walker won't, unless it's retaliation. So he's like, hey, Cuba's firing on us. Fire back at Cuba. And that sets up... Coldman
sets it for Mother Base. The tank.
No, you're right.
The oil rig.
And it was the KGB that goes to Cuba. Whatever. Yeah. This game, to me, I mean, the storyline is very interesting.
Yeah.
This is not about the story to me. It's more of the gameplay, which we'll get into here shortly, and the building of the bases and stuff. Like, the story's kind of there. And there's some interesting parts, and there's some interesting characters that you meet along the way. But to me, and the way they break it up into missions and stuff like that, it's all about creating this empire, I guess, is army, really.
Yeah. I'm not sure I fully agree with that statement. I think Peace Walker's story is pretty damn good.
I'm not saying it's bad.
Sorry, that's not how I meant to phrase that. I don't think it's as much of an afterthought as I think you're trying to say.
I think there's bits and pieces that continue on, but there's a good section of that game that's like, it's whatever. It's the big boss AI really have to be part of the Metal, well, I guess it wasn't Metal Gear, but part of the weapon, other than it creates drama. I mean, that part to me is just a reason to go from point A to point B. Like, the long-lasting stuff, like the whole nuke situation about how it goes from here to there, and the creation, really, of Big Boss's regime that you will then have to take on in the early Metal Gear games. I get that. But there's just... to me, as far as story goes, it's kind of like, we're going to throw some of this in there while you get to create this army that you later on have to fight. And you get to see the origins of it. But I think we get way more of the origin stuff in the game that just came out today.
Yeah. Well,
in other words, I think
by the time this comes out.
To me, this is the prologue.
Yeah.
Of a giant story of how Big Boss's army has begun.
Yeah.
To me.
Or how Big Boss turned evil because, because he started out as a lovable dork in Snake Eater, and he's still pretty dorky here, but he, you kind of start seeing his start of darkness pretty much.
Yes.
Because he pretty much explicitly says he finds out, that the boss basically laid down her gun, and he takes the completely wrong message from it and goes, she gave up her life as a soldier. She's dead to me. I'm Big Boss now. It's just like, okay, sure.
It's really, I do like that part where it's like how your mind registers things. Because for years he was, okay, what did Boss really do by doing this? Did the U.S. screw us both over? So he leaves the U.S., and then through all of this, he goes, no, Boss was a fool. She did this. She like exactly what you said. So it's like just the weird ways, exact same thing happened. He just interprets it differently.
Yeah. And then after the credits roll, and you go into this entire 5th chapter, after the credits roll, and it seems like the entire thing's put up in a bow, and I'll admit, I didn't listen to a lot of the tapes yet, but I gotta say, Paz going evil and trying to steal Metal Gear Zeke, which, by the way, over the course of the game, you record, I think it's Otacon's grandfather, or is it his father?
His father.
It's his father, Huey. Grandfather was the Manhattan Project. There we go. Now I've got my Hemrick family history straight. But you recruit Huey Emmerich, and he decides he's going to build you a Metal Gear named Zeke, Metal Gear Zeke, And a large part of the metagame, I'm going to say, the base building part, is finding parts for Metal Gear Zeke. Well, you finally finish him, and Paz goes, "Oh hey, by the way, I'm evil, and I'm taking this, and I'm blowing shit up." So you have to fight Paz on Metal Gear Zeke, and yeah, that definitely was a thing that happened.
Yes, and it's really sad because before that, there's a side-op mission where you get to take her on a date on a beach in creepy fashion.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I love how you have to communicate with her using the co-op commands.
Yeah,
so you're just sitting there like, impressive. I'm here. I'm gonna feel them, and I'm just like,
And you get
box time.
Box time. But you do get Big Boss meowing like a cat. That's something that happens.
And that's only made hilarious because back when Kiefer Sutherland was announced as Big Boss's voice for Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, I was firmly in the camp of what the fuck are you doing? David Hayter is the voice of Snake and Big Boss. What the fuck's going on here? Well, then I heard David Hayter's voice in Peace Walker. And to an extent, Metal Gear Solid 4, now that I think about it. And I realized that he has completely shot his voice doing Solid Snake, and Old Snake, and Big Boss, to the point where he cannot do the voice in anything resembling something that I can take seriously anymore.
Yeah, it's become a little bit too grovelly, and it makes it kind of humorous in points that it doesn't need to be. And it's nothing against David Hayter. Mad props to him for all of his work for this whole series, but I'm right there with you, where it's like, it's gotten a little too far.
Mm-hmm. And he's gotten so far with it that I don't think he can, I think he may have actually legitimately damaged his ability to do that voice. Because, like the torture sequence, that, when Dr. Strangelove tortures Big Boss.
Because you can't have a Metal Gear game without a torture sequence.
And he's doing the whole, oh, I'm getting shocked thing. And it just sounds so awful. Like, I'm not saying, like, awful, in like, oh no, I'm listening to a Metal Man getting tortured. It's awful in the sense of, holy shit, who greenlighted this vocal take?
Oh, you got it right. It's awful because somebody's getting tortured. It's just his vocal cords.
Good point.
So before we move on to the side stuff about base stuff, I want to stick to the story-ish parts. What did you think of the way they presented the story? It was kind of the comic booky-esque graphics and stuff. I loved that change.
I'm pretty sure that was done as a thing because it was on the PSP.
Absolutely, but because they took their limitations and made something amazing with it. Because I love just the contrast and the different things that you could do with it. The QuickTime events, I could have done without. I mean, especially the first time when you weren't even really expecting it coming. And it's a Metal Gear game, so some of the cutscenes do go a little long, and there's sometimes where the QuickTime event ends up at the end of it, so you set down your controller, or I have propped up my Vita so I can just watch it, and then you have to scramble to grab it real quick. Yeah. But just that graphical decision I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, and honestly, I can kind of tell that, that this was a PSP game, even playing it on the HD collection, because I actually have a specific thing here in my notes that Snake's unmoving HD face is creepy as hell. Because, all they did for the HD port was just kind of stick the HD models in and call it a day, for the cutscenes. And it's quite clear that they did not rig facial animation for Snake because he just sits there and stares during all of the cutscenes. And I'm just like, that's fucking creepy. Yeah. And, so you can tell that, what little real-time stuff they did do was done with the PSP's limitations in mind, and then they would switch to the, to the comic book cutscenes.
If I'm remembering right, it's basically all black and white except for red, right?
Red and yellow, basically.
And yellow? So that, I like that, especially because when you first get introduced to Paz, she's in the red cape, so she really stands out. The thing that they could have done without, again, creepy Kojima, is when you meet a character, you can do the whole zooming in and out stuff.
You can actually do that at any point during a cutscene. It shows
on the thing.
Yeah, it shows on the thing when you meet a character for the most part.
Was really confused when it brought it up, and I started messing with it, and all of a sudden it's paused in her underwear.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, what the hell?
I think that was partially to kind of show her injuries, because the point was that at the time...
But you really couldn't tell that there were injuries on the thing. Like, if it was a big, giant cut somewhere, okay. But there was just some creepy, weird stuff in this game, I guess is what I'm saying. All surrounding pause. But, no, the whole display of all those cutscenes are just amazing. And so is... basically the side section of this game, which I need to get more in depth in and learn what I'm doing wrong, because you had played it for like 2 hours more than me at the point that we're at the same, but your base was almost twice as good as mine. like you only had like 20 more people than I did, but you were 10 to 15 levels higher in everything. So I guess I wasn't analyzing the people I was picking up and would end up with a lot of junky people while you would only pick up the best, but explain the system. Okay,
so a large part of Peace Walker's gameplay is you building up Mother Base, which is the new home for I almost said Doctors Without Borders. Holy shit. The Army Without Borders, MSF. And, basically, you can recruit new soldiers by using the Fulton recovery system. So, attaching a balloon to their unconscious body, basically.
Whether you're in front of another enemy, or underground, or in a building.
And again, PSP game. Yeah. That's something they iterated on in Phantom Pain, from what I've seen, is Fultoning now has a chance to fail, or if somebody sees the Fulton, they go, one of my friends is on a balloon that's going up into the air. I'm going to shoot at that balloon. Anyway, getting back to Peace Walker. So, you basically, can recruit soldiers to your cause, and as you recruit more people, your abilities to do things grow. Like, you unlock an R&D team to research new weapons and supplies. You unlock, a sick bay team to treat wounded and whatnot. You unlock an intel team to get more info on, maps or enemies in the area, or, upgrading your analyzer so you can tell how skilled the soldier is in the field. And, basically, you want to recruit the best of the best, so you have, more GMP, which is basically, earning potential, points you can cash in for researching, the next level of your, tranquilizer gun, or, a new missile launcher, whatever.
Yeah, and that's what I like about it. It's not now you have to go find this weapon in the field. It is now you have to build this base so your group can research it and make yourself better in the field. You also can send out some troops on side missions, and they'll bring back ammo and stuff. And sometimes new recruits and
it's a fairly interesting system, and again, one that it appears they iterated on for Phantom Pain. Which, yes, I'm kind of excited to see how they iterated on things in Phantom Pain. I'm not going to lie, because when I first heard this had a base building mechanic in it, I was like, okay. Sure, that's not exactly what I was expecting from a Metal Gear game, but we'll go with it.
But it fits perfectly with the story, and they do a great job. And I was right there with you, where I'm like, I just want to sneak. I just want to. What is this? But no, you find yourself messing around with it a lot more than you think, and it adds a lot of extra gameplay after you finish the main story, because the main story is like 12 hours, 13 hours. It would be even less if you're not messing around with the other stuff. So it was a good way to pad the game without feeling like padding, I guess is the best way I could put it. Because we've talked about several times where they just add sections in there, and you're like, well, they just did this to add gameplay. This is like, it adds gameplay, but it has such a great purpose to it.
So, a couple other things I kind of wanted to go into here. The boss fights in this game
are snore fests.
I wouldn't quite go that
Minus
far.
the final one.
Yeah.
Well, let's go through it. So you take out the side ones like the tanks and the big giant jeep thing and whatever that have people.
The armored carriers. Yeah.
Yeah. So just skip those, or the helicopter. Just skip those because those are side bosses and whatever. Basically, there are 4 main bosses in this game. Mm-hmm. The first one just drives around a Thunderdome, singing at you, and you just find...
And shooting lightning at you.
And you find corners and stuff that they can't reach you, and you shoot them, and
it's
you move
Pupa.
on.
The name of it is Pupa, which will become obvious why I'm saying that in a second.
The second one, it flies around, it sends out things that try to capture you. A little bit more of a pain in the butt, just because, with my control scheme, trying to keep up with the way it flies around. But that's basically all it does. It flies around, it shoots missiles at you.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a locking on missile launcher, it could be a pain in the ass.
And that one is called
Chrysalis.
Yep. And then you fight this big giant tank that just basically goes forward and backwards. And the reason why I call this the most boring boss of the whole game, it's you go underneath it, you take out a couple vents, and then either it tries to squish you or it brings down this arm with a machine gun. And at that point, you go to the outside and you start blowing up the outside. And every time it warns you going, oh, main cannon's loaded. Mm-hmm. Then you go underneath it, wait for it to land, you come back out, rinse and repeat until it's all over, and then you have to climb the damn thing to end it. But those 3 bosses to me were like so uninspired. I mean, I understand like limitations and stuff, and they wanted to make these big giant bosses. But what happened to the cool stuff like the end or just human on human battles? I missed completely in this game.
Well, on the one part of me says I actually liked these boss fights for the most part. Yes, I do feel they were a little bit samey, but I had fun during all of them. You know, I mean, yes. Now that you've mentioned it, yeah, I would maybe like to see a bit more variety in the fights, but I didn't have an issue fighting them. But that may be because I didn't latch onto the strategy of staying under Cocoon like you did, which, by the way, the name of the giant tank boss you go under and shoot the vents is Cocoon. And, I actually did not stay underneath Cocoon for that long. I actually sat there, faced it head on, and tried dodging its attacks, which made it a bit difficult because, yes, I died a ton until I, kind of started to get a feel for things, but it made the fight a lot more of an experience instead of just, well, he's harming the cannon again, I better get under.
Yeah, I understand that, but
and I understand where you're coming from too. Like I said, I can get where you're coming from with, them feeling a little bit samey, but I guess it didn't bother me any because I actually liked them. Yeah.
Well, it was, oh, here's another giant boss. It's like, where's a sniper battle with somebody? Where's, I missed the one-on-one boss battles that are in every other Metal Gear game. We didn't get a single one in this. And I do have to say, the sneaking missions in this game are amazing. And because this was the 7th game we had played in this damn series, I've gotten really good at it. So, I was missing that. So, I mean, that was my point. But then you get to the final boss. And we gotta do a little side story on this. Wes comes over Sunday. And we're both basically at the exact same point. So we're just playing it side by side. He's hooked up his PS3 to one of my TVs. And I'm playing it on my Vita. And sometimes I'd leave the room. Usually it was Wes would get to the cutscene before me. And I wasn't trying to spoil anything while I'm fighting this flipping helicopter and his 9 buddies. While this lady is singing in my damn ear this terrible song, so I can't even hear what they're yelling. And
I liked Heaven's Divide.
Well, you play that song after the fucking boss. It's not even a boss. You play it after the battle, or you turn it the fuck down. I started cussing at the lady. Shut up! I'm trying to concentrate. But So you get through that, and you get to basically the final boss, which is Peace Walker, and you and I are playing this side by side, and it takes us both like 45 minutes to get through this boss. It is epic as hell. I'm so sad came out with my top 10 boss battles, which I did say was just the Metal Gear Solid, those main 4 for a reason. I was hoping one of these boss battles would find it. I'm sad I did that top 10 before I played this game, because that one probably is in my top 5. Maybe just for the experience of us playing it back right next to each other and going, like, taking claim of it. It's like, well, my Peace Walker is doing this. Well, my Peace Walker is behind a fucking building. And just start going, mine is doing a baseball slide in my face. And,
I think I said power slide.
Whatever.
I just watched, like, Pick of Destiny.
And all of a sudden it's glowing. It has all these, it's unlike the other bosses where it had like 3 forms. This one did 9 or 10 different things that you had to keep. Missiles that drilled into the ground and then popped up and then exploded. Or she would then decide to fire. I keep saying she because it's fucking boss's voice, and I've decided this giant machine's a girl. But it would try to launch the nuke. So then you have a minute to try to make enough damage to make it forget what it's doing. And every time you fire a rocket, then it shoots missiles, so you have to run around a little bit. Wes and I both, at some point in our boss battle, got within 10 seconds of it going off. To the point where, it's Colonel, right? Colonel Miller?
No, it's,
Miller.
Miller.
Sorry, I can't remember his name.
Kazuhiro Miller.
Yeah. He's yelling, oh no, it's over, I can't believe it, I'm sorry, and all this, like, he's freaking the fuck out, while Peace Walker is now shaking in front of you because it's so ready to shoot this nuke, and you're freaking out, and that boss battle, period,
it was pretty
my
fucking
favorite
intense.
part in this entire game.
Zeke battle comes close for me, but that's probably owing to just how out of left field it was for me. But again, it's because I didn't really listen to the backstory tapes, and I think I'm gonna need to go back and do that now. Because usually I'm pretty good about that, but for some reason with Peace Walker, I was just like, next mission. Actually, come to think of it, that was one thing that kind of pissed me off, is you can't listen to the tapes during a mission in Peace Walker.
No, I didn't know that.
And it's just like, I mean, they give you a Walkman and everything, but you can only listen to music. And it's just like, what? Yeah, unless I missed an option, which is entirely possible, because let's be honest here, this is the guy who missed the fucking subtitle option in Hydrophobia Prophecy. But, yeah. So, all in all, Peace Walker was a very pleasant surprise to me. The storyline was amazing. The extra ops are gonna keep me coming back for more.
Yes.
Keep us coming back for more,
yes.
Because I really want to try co-op again and have it be, me playing on my internet and you playing on yours, because I think that was part of the problem, was we had so much shit running off of your internet on Sunday. But, so, I'm glad we got around to doing this project, because this is a game I probably would not have touched for a while. Well, no, I think I probably would have touched it just because, it's become clear, it would have become clear to me that I needed to after Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain.
Yeah.
All the stuff we've learned in the pre-release to it. So,
before we move on to these other 2 games, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say, out of these 3 games, this was our favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you rank it in your Metal Gear top games?
It would be pretty high up there.
Because to me, it might be second. It's really close between that and Metal Gear Solid 3. Because of, like, the base building and stuff, I might put it
I would put it...
But the boss battles on 3 are just so much better.
Yeah. I would probably go top 3.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to come up with the exact rankings in my head right now.
It's tough.
Yeah, but it would probably be top 3.
Because, I mean, I will say this is quite a different game.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's still your normal sneaking and boss battles and stuff, but all in all, it's mostly a different game. What is really a different game is the game we're going to talk about next. Well, what you are mostly going to talk about next.
Yep.
And that is Metal Gear Rising Revegeance.
Revegeance. Yep.
Which came out something.
Which came out February 19th, 2013, and was developed by not Kojima. It was developed by Platinum Games, with some insight from Kojima and Kojima Productions. Now, this game, I want to talk about the backstory of this game for a little bit before we even start talking about gameplay or its actual storyline. This game, I remember, is one of the more interesting games in the Metal Gear series, development history-wise, to me. Because it was originally announced at like E3 2009, I think, that there was going to be a game called Metal Gear Rising that was going to focus on Raiden. And, what ended up, we heard about the announcement, and then, we would see footage of Raiden, freely controlling his blade to cut up a watermelon, and, it was originally going to be he went to go save Sonny, and all these details, and then we stopped hearing about it. And then finally news came out that Metal Gear Rising was pretty much dead in the water. So it just
should have stayed. No, that is a little harsh.
Yeah, but so people were a little bit upset about it, and then suddenly, at one of Jeff Keighley's video game awards events, I can't remember which exact one, but it was then announced that, oh hey, Metal Gear Rising is a thing now, except it's called Metal Gear Rising Revegeance. It looks batshit insane and has a butt rock soundtrack. And oh, by the way, it's developed by Platinum Games. So yeah, kind of an interesting little, development backstory. And now on to the actual game itself. You play as Raiden. You no longer play in the space between Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 4. Instead, this game takes place after Metal Gear Solid 4 in a world where, the war economy has failed or has been shut down by Fox Alive. And you're working for a security company called Maverick. And, you and Maverick are assigned to this desk to protect this president. And, basically shit goes south, but, in a big hurry, and Raiden becomes, an even bigger cyborg than he already was.
Yeah.
And, so, the gameplay in this game, this is a Platinum action game. We'll put it that way. It's balls to the wall. You are Raiden, and you are a cyborg ninja with a sword, and you are not afraid to use it. You slice and dice your way through this game at breakneck speeds. And do some pretty impossibly awesome shit. I mean, the first level alone has you take on a Metal Gear Ray and slice it into its component parts. While Butt Rock plays. And it's fucking amazing. I mean, okay, I'm just gonna come right out and say it. You were not a fan of this game to the point where you actually broke a fucking controller.
Yes, I did.
Which is, I'm pretty sure, the first recorded casualty of this project is you broke a DualShock 3 playing this game.
Yes, I did.
Would you like to talk about that?
No. Yes, okay. And just to make it clear, it's been a long time since I've broken a controller. And it's because of this. And I will come out right out and say I'm about I'm 40% of the way through the game?
I would peg you at about there, yeah.
Yeah. And I am giving it everything I can into this game. I will finish it at some point. Maybe. But it's like this. To me, this game had so much potential. Because it is so fast-paced. Because it has so much action. And because the music, even though, butt rock and all that, it works in this game.
Yes, it does. Yes, it absolutely
really does. And the first fight you have with Ray is awesome. It's such a crazy scale, and it works well. And, it has a different kind of control scheme that it takes you a little bit to get used to. Mm-hmm. But I was getting it a little bit, and I'm like, alright, I'm in. This is awesome. And then the game goes on a little bit, and it's to me, I start finding flaws
Mm-hmm.
in the gameplay, which is surprising to me from these guys that make Bayonetta. I understand, and we've talked about this several times since, while I continue to give this game another try, that it really wants you to work on countering.
Yes.
So it's you parry an attack and then attack them really quick, and then they're vulnerable, and then you go into blade mode and slice and dice to your heart's content. Here's where the game completely loses me. For one, yes, the game is super fast-paced. So fast-paced, the camera can't keep up half the time. There are times where an enemy will run by me and I'll have the lock-on on it, and the camera just starts freaking out trying to remember where this enemy is. Which sucks when you are locked on one guy, but there's 6 people around you. But if you don't lock on somebody out of those 6, you're just fucked, because Raiden goes and swings it whatever the hell he wants. Which he does almost anyways, because I was in this small room, like an office room in Denver, and you have like 6 enemies around you, and I'm locked on one, and I swing in his direction, but Raiden goes to his left to attack somebody else. And then I go into the blade mode, and he turned around and started swinging at nothing. And it's stuff like that that just started to really drive me nuts. Because on top of trying to learn how to do this parry system correctly, and these things are just destroying me to no end, I lost it. It happens. But the biggest complaint I have of this entire game, and anyone that I know, I've talked to people that love this game. And again, I see parts where this game could have been amazing. But if your main component of your gameplay is that you have to parry and counter people, do not make your parry button the exact same button as your attack button. That drives me absolutely insane. If it is such a big part of your game, give it its own button. How it is not L1 in this game, I will never understand. It is square. Your soft attack is also square. So if your timing's off just a little bit, which is fine if I'm off a little bit on hitting L1 and I get attacked, that's my fault. But if I hit square like a little bit too early and then can't fix it because Raiden is doing a somersault forward because it has gone, oh, you're not parrying, you're actually attacking. It's so rage-inducing, I can't explain it. Again, all they had to do was make this an L1 attack. And I would have had no problem with it. Move your ninja thing to R1. Perfect game. This game would have been so much fun. Would have been a little difficult at times, getting the timing down and stuff. But just the fact that they focus on one aspect of gameplay and then give that aspect 2 purposes on the same fucking button drives me nuts. Also, when you throw fucking grenades, holding L2 and pushing R1 makes no sense. Rant over.
Well then, I will say, that last point I do kind of agree with. Throwing grenades kind of felt awkward, which is why I never did it. I almost never used sub-items in this game. Just never really caught on with me.
Okay, so rant continue because I remembered one more thing. Yes, I understand you have to control the camera a little bit, whatever, but why the R stick does not let you do the little flippy stuff that happens in every other fucking ninja game like Bayonetta, guys. Same fucking company. Again, it's one of those things my brain could not process square being the parry button instead of L1. And if somebody was coming at me and I wasn't ready to do the block, I kept trying to hit the R stick to flip out of the fucking way, and you couldn't. Again, bleh. Sorry.
So, I think I just had a bit of a breakthrough on this, because I actually don't have much experience playing action games, such as Bayonetta or Devil May Cry or, a lot of the Ninja Gaiden, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't really have problems with the controls in Revegeance. I didn't really have a lot of the experiences you experienced. That didn't make sense. But, yes, I died a lot in this game. I will come right out and say it. I'm not the best at video games.
And I'm fine with the dying. If the boss is tough, and I will give it credit, when you die, it takes 3 seconds and you're back in the game. I have no problem with that. It was just, the controls to me just seemed off, which was my problem. If this game is just complete garbage, like I feel Deus Ex is, like Human Revolution, I just feel like that's just a turd of a game. This, I see it. I see a great game. It's just the controls just seem off. And that's, I think, what drove me over the edge. Because Deus Ex never, pissed me off. I just had no fun playing the game. Here, I would have fun playing it, and then would have this moment of, brain lock, because like you said, I am so used to other games. And I get it. Not every game should have the same control scheme. It just, to me, it made no sense your best way to attack is to parry and counter, but your parry is the same button as your attack button. To me, it's something I can't get over.
So, okay. So, as Randy said, he did not finish this game. So I'm going to take over from here, and we're going to go do a brief rundown of story points. So, the president of this unnamed country gets killed by
I thought they did name it. I honestly can't think of it, but it was a country in Africa. But I'll look it up while you're explaining, because I'm pretty sure that
they probably did, and I'm blanking on it. But anyway, so the president of this country gets killed by Desperado, another company, and and then Raiden gets his shit wrecked.
No, you're wrong. I'm wrong. It's an unnamed African country. I knew it was in Africa.
Okay,
but they didn't say what country.
Anyway, so they failed their escort mission because Maverick had been hired to protect this presidential candidate. And in the course of failing this mission, Raiden gets his shit wrecked by a guy by the name of Jetstream Sam.
Which even Raiden says is a stupid name.
But, so, Raiden gets his body, his new cybernetic body, from a man called Herr Doctor, which, that dude is batshit insane, and I fucking love him. And the game then becomes Raiden trying to figure out what the hell Desperado is trying to do. And, the search leads him through Mexico, where he finds that Desperado is actually a splinter of one of the largest PMCs called World Marshal. And that they're taking orphan kids, basically, and harvesting their brains to make child soldier cyborgs, which pisses Raiden the hell off as a former child soldier. And so he basically finds where he knows where World Marshal is, and he finds out that it's run by a Senator Armstrong out of Colorado, Denver specifically. So he goes to Denver to stop World Marshal in their tracks after resigning from Maverick. And, along the way he runs into what are called the Four Winds of Destruction, lieutenants, underneath World Marshal. He defeats one, in that unnamed African country, that he's still in. And, he meets another named Mistral in, Denver. And, he basically is trying to stop these child soldiers from being made at this point. And, in the course of fighting Mistral, he taps into basically his child soldier persona by the name of Jack the Ripper, and he turns red and, just starts laughing maniacally. Now that I'm saying it, it sounds silly, but it's actually pretty well executed, because at no point does Revegeance really start taking itself seriously.
No.
At one point, there's kind of a nice little callback to one of the cheesiest lines in Metal Gear history. Did you say nerd? Remember that from Metal Gear Solid 2?
Yes.
At one point, the doctor says, you need to take a doomp.
Yep, I've gotten to that point. I did laugh. There are some funny lines. I do like the reference to the Ninja Turtles.
Yep, at the start of the second.
You drop into a sewer and a kid goes, "Oh, a ninja! Cowabunga!" Alright, that's good.
Yeah.
Again, I see a good game.
And to go back to the start of the second chapter for a second, there is also another moment of absolute hilarity in there that's only enhanced when you actually think about why the funny moment in the game happened. Because as part of his trying to infiltrate Mexico, Raiden bought a disguise. And Randy just double facepalmed because he knows what I'm talking about now.
Yep.
So, since he's in Mexico, Raiden is in a blitzed out, like, black and gold, glittery mariachi band outfit. Complete with huge, like, bejeweled, bedazzled sombrero, right? And he's just walking down the street, and, Blade Wolf's following behind him, shaking his head. And, basically these two guys spot Raiden trying to get into the sewer, right? And they just start talking to each other in Spanish, like, would you look at this crazy asshole over here, right? And they just go, and they finally just end up going, let's just ignore that ever happened. As Raiden knows that he's been seen, and he just goes, adios, amigos, and goes down into the sewer. And I want you to think about that for a second, because if you think about it, Raiden had to go into a store and buy that outfit. So somebody saw Raiden, who is, at this point, a completely obvious cyborg, decked out in battle armor, with an eye patch, and a giant sword on his back. Somebody saw this guy walk into this store, and went, he's looking for traditional Mexican clothes, I'm gonna sell him a fucking bejeweled mariachi outfit. That dude has the biggest balls in Metal Gear Solid history. Or, excuse me, Metal Gear Rising history. That is abso-fucking-lutely amazing. To me.
Amazing is not the word. Interesting, I guess.
But, it's... Rising story is, fairly held together. It's basically Raiden coming to terms with him being a child soldier and what, war does to a person. And so, he's trying to track down Senator Armstrong. He finally does, after killing the Four Winds of Destruction, including Sundowner and Jetstream Sam. And these are all pretty amazing boss fights. He finally realizes, what Armstrong's plan is to assassinate the U.S. president, blame it on terrorists, and kickstart the war economy. So he gets to the space in Pakistan, and goes to try to stop Armstrong's plan, where he runs face on into a six-legged Metal Gear by the name of Metal Gear Excelsis. And, oh my god, Metal Gear Excelsis is an amazing boss fight. Because it's just the six-legged Metal Gear that's just slamming its legs down onto the ground, and there's shit going on everywhere. It's fucking amazing. But you finally defeat Excelsis, and Armstrong pops out of the cockpit, and you figure it's the senator, right? What the fuck is he gonna do to me? So Raiden starts beating the shit out of him, and Armstrong just takes it. And takes it, and takes it, and takes it. And he doesn't seem like he's slowing down one bit. And finally, Raiden just kind of straight up goes, how the hell are you still alive? And Armstrong responds with, nanomachine, son. I'm underselling it, but just the way he says nanomachine, son, is fucking amazing. And he goes on to just start beating the absolute shit out of Raiden. And at one point, he screams, don't fuck with this senator, and then field goal kicks Raiden as a football crowd cheering starts to play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, again, Revegeance does not take itself seriously at all, and it's made better for it. In my opinion. Because the gameplay is fun, slice and dice action. The boss fights are all incredible. Mistral, I will say the first actual Wind of Destruction fight against Mistral, I don't remember all that well because it was just kind of a fairly standard, chase after her, slash at her, and she's done. But crap, I forgot the second guy's name. But the second one you face when you unlock Ripper mode, he can, like, his body is, like, built with magnets that he can, like, throw out his body and then pull himself back into separate segments. So if he's doing that, it's really tough to get a hit on him in blade mode, so you have to kind of, like, figure out how he's doing it, stop it, and then, go crazy on him in blade mode for a bit and repeat, and that's an amazing fight. Jetstream Sam, when you finally get to fight him, is a nice, interesting little duel, that kind of checks your parrying ability. Excelsis is, Excelsis is basically a final exam boss because it takes every single thing you've learned from the previous fights and goes, okay, can you do this? And then, the Senator Armstrong fight is is, can you do all this and then take it up to 11? While the most amazing music in Metal Gear okay, I won't go that far, but the final boss battle music in this game is goddamn amazing. It's called It Has to Be This Way, and, once you listen to the lyrics and in context of what Armstrong is trying to do, it is fucking amazing. Because Armstrong basically goes on this batshit insane rant where he's like, the war economy is the best thing that's ever happened to America. I want America to be a place where any man can seize power by himself without, money or other shit getting in the way, and it's just absolutely bug shit insane in a way that is not matched by pretty much any Metal Gear villain I can think of at the moment. It's pretty batshit out there what Armstrong wants to do. I mean, yeah. I honestly don't know what to say because I was not expecting you to not like this game as much as you did. I mean, I figured there'd be
one button, really. I mean, the sad thing is, that's what it is. It's because it's the same button as the attack. And the camera's a little off, but I can understand that with all the action and stuff. Like, I can make do with some of the other shortcomings that I went on in my rant. It's really, honestly, just that one button choice that they made that has made it so infuriating and has really soured me on it. And like I said, I do plan on, like, out of the 3 games now in this project that I have not finished, this is the one I know for sure I will finish, because I was enjoying my time for the most part, unlike Conquer and Deus Ex. I enjoy this game, which is why it becomes so infuriating when the controls seem to hinder me at times. So, it's one of those things, and like, playing it more, I was getting over it a little bit. We just ran out of time. Like, I would just not want to play it, and I'd play Peace Walker or Rocket League, really, instead. So, like, I'd get off the rails a little bit as far as, like, hitting the deadline, so that's part of it. It honestly is more of I just ran out of time instead of I will not play this game. But it did take me 2 days after breaking my controller to go, alright, I'll give it another go. Like, I was just so fed up with it at that point, and it's a sad thing to happen to a 30-year-old dude, but it happened. I have to live with it.
You're 31?
I'm 31.
I thought you turned 30 earlier this year.
No, that was last year. I'm an old fucker. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Alright.
I am just all sorts of fucked up with time today. We'll just put it that way, because a little bit of behind-the-scenes baseball here. I was a couple hours late to the recording time we'd set for today because my ass took a nap in the middle of the day, which almost never fucking happens.
You're getting old, Wes. We're both getting old.
Oh, God.
Alright.
But, so, let's end the Metal Gear month with the final, well, until you listen to this podcast on the day it's going to release, the latest game in the Metal Gear series. That would be Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, which released on March 18th, 2014.
Or as most people call it, and I kind of call it in a good way, Metal Gear Solid 5 demo disc.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I'm not putting it down. Yes, the $30 price tag was ridiculous. But I did end up paying it before, it then became a PlayStation Plus game, an Xbox Live Gold game and stuff.
Games with gold.
But basically, quick synopsis of this story, it's you get word that Paz is still alive and her and Chico are prisoners in this base, and you have to go free them. That's the basis of it. You meet this new character, Skullface?
Yep, Skullface.
Thank you. But not much is said there, but he's leading the XOF group, which is the same logo as Fox.
Except flipped.
So is the... basically
letters.
The patch is flipped and yellow.
Yeah.
Instead
Inverted.
of black.
Yeah. The colors are basically switched.
Yeah. So I'm sure we'll learn way more about that in 5. So basically, this whole game is one mission. There's a lot of side ops later that neither of us have really touched yet. But the main mission is you go to this base and you have to go save these two. And it's basically a small-ish open world game where you have your main objective, but you can do it however you want. You can go across the edge, you can go through the middle, you can drive, you can just destroy everyone, you can take out lights. There's so many possibilities in this little area. Like, watching you play it and going a completely different way than I did is always enjoyable. Like, most Metal Gear games are very linear, so to see it kind of expand to this has me so excited for the Phantom Pain. It's tough to put into words. This was a great way to end Metal Gear month. Yeah.
Pretty much agreed with everything you just said there. I did want to jump in a little bit. You said kind of you meet Skullface, and I guess that's you as in, guy holding the controller.
Yes.
I initially was like, well, we don't technically meet him because we just see him at, leaving Camp Omega, which is the name of the site you're in.
Yeah.
Which, they basically should have just, they come this close to just going, hey, this is Guantanamo Bay before it was Guantanamo Bay. Yeah. And it's just like, well, so, yeah,
But I like, again, the open worldness of it. Your camera has the directional mic to it, so you can sneak around and listen to conversations with different soldiers and stuff. I remember doing that last year. I didn't do it that much for this. I wanted to get through it and remember the controls and stuff.
Yeah.
But you can, like I said, you can drive around. There's a whole section of the base that, if you were just trying to do the objectives, you completely skip over, but it's a kind of cool place to check out.
Yeah.
But, I love the controls. I love the fact that if you get spotted, it kind of goes in that slow-mo.
Yeah.
You have 2-3 seconds to shoot him in the head to make him not then alert everybody kind of moment, which shows that you are just the better soldier.
Yeah. And it's... I remember that actually being kind of a point of contention because it's called reflex mode, and a lot of people, when they saw it originally, went, well, that just makes it too easy now. But I will say it saved my ass a few times, but which kind of leads me to something I do want to kind of admit, as painful as it's going to be for me. In the course of this month, I feel like I improved my Metal Gear gameplay a lot. Some of my stats don't exactly show that, but, the mere fact to me that I got through, Metal Gear Solid 2 with only 2 kills, both of which were me being a dumbass and forgetting thrusting with the sword still kills people, whether or not you have it set to stun, was amazing to me. So I feel like I had gotten, better at the Metal Gear games, especially once we hit Peace Walker. I felt like, a god of Metal Gear, compared to where I was before I started this project. Ground Zeroes disabused me of that notion with a fucking quickness. Because, for this project, I basically played it over here at Randy's because, he has a PS4, I don't, and I wanted to play it the best way possible.
Yeah.
I sat here, and it took me 96 minutes, I think, was my final mission clear time.
Yep. Right around
and 18 retries.
But I will give you credit. Most of those happened after you save pause, and it's a little bit more difficult to get to the final point.
Speaking of which, I still think the game just took pity on me and just said, here, just get her to the helicopter and get the fuck out. Because
all of a sudden the guards just didn't pay attention to you.
Yeah. This one's going to be hard to say audio-wise, but basically, I was this close to extracting pause. I was probably 20 meters away from the landing zone. I just needed to get there and call the helicopter, and I was done. Well, there was a guard right in front of me that I hadn't spotted yet, or tagged yet, so I walked right into him, and I'm sitting there panicking, and I just decide, okay, maybe I can go around him. Well, I start to go around him, and he turns around and just about faces me. And I pretty much shit a brick. I'm sitting here panicking, trying to drop pause and do 3 things at once. Nothing's working. So I just keep running around him, and I brush right by him and expect him to go into alert any second. But I just keep running by him, and he keeps running the opposite direction. It was... And I just absolutely lost my shit. I sat there, I got to the point, I called the helicopter, and I was laughing the entire time. I very quickly stopped laughing when the ending cutscene started to play, and I got treated to a full 1080p, 60 frames per second, HD, impromptu, abdominal bomb removal surgery with no anesthetic. Thanks for that, Kojima. I really needed to see that.
Yeah, so basically... You save pause, she has a bomb in her, you throw it out, you get back to Mother Base and see it was all a ruse, that while you were doing this, they were blowing the shit out of home. And then you learn that Paz has another bomb somewhere, she jumps out of your helicopter, blows up, the blast still gets you, you crash, and then are somehow saved later, and wake up after... 9 years. 9 years, yep. And boom.
Phantom Pain.
It's the end. Welcome to Phantom Pain. So just a couple quick questions for you, Wes. I'm curious because you had not played this before. Mm-hmm. I had played it when it came out and stuff, so I kind of knew what to expect. Keith Sutherland, how would you grade his performance from the little bit that you heard?
I'll be honest, I'm still not used to it yet. Every time we talked, I had to remember for a second that this was Big Boss speaking or Snake speaking, instead of some other character. I'm sure I'll get used to it over the course of me, A, replaying Ground Zeroes on my inferior PS3, and B, playing Phantom Pain when I eventually get around to either playing it on PS4 or plopping down the money and buying it on PC, because I think my PC can actually run it. And, it's just a question of getting used to it. Because, honestly, if they had stuck with David Hayter for this, I would probably not be able to give these games the seriousness I think they've earned.
Yeah.
Okay,
so what did you think? And we didn't bring it up as much in the gameplay section, and I meant to, but, so you save, you go and you find Chico, because that's what they tell you. It's over here in this area is where you're going to find him. So you save him and you put him back, and he gives you a tape, and basically saying pause is somewhere. What did you? How awesome? I thought it was awesome, but how did you feel about it not going? Okay, she's here. It's okay. Well, we hear driving, so now you know you have to go back up to the road. You hear a flag, so then it was that, and then something about a helicopter. So it's like go to the helipad.
Yeah.
So it was. How did you? I don't know if they do this in 5, but I like that it wasn't. Well, now you have to go get her. She's there.
Yeah.
It's, well, we can hear this, and then it's like, legit, you have to sneak around and investigate and find your way, which you got lost your first time, which I'm sure I did too. I can't remember, but I just love that it's not, okay, now go to this point. It's, well, now you have to go find it.
Yeah. Well, I think I would have liked it a little bit better if I had actually snuck around and found the administration building by myself. As it was, I kind of lucked into that too, because I just walked up and saw a truck and saw a guard sitting next to it, and for some reason I went into the back of the truck, and the guard got into the truck and started driving, and drove exactly by the flag and the heliport and into the admin building, while Miller was spouting there's a flag. Okay, now what? And then, drove by the heliport. Oh, there's the heliport. Okay, we must be getting close. And then the gate to the admin building opened, and it's like, oh, there's a gate!
And I still don't understand how, in 1970, whatever this game is, how Miller can see what the fuck you're doing.
1977, yeah. Well, let's be honest here. The iDroid itself is a technical incongruity because it has a fucking holographic projection screen.
That is also true.
But I think let's be honest here. If we're gonna go let's go back to Peace Walker and go, how the fuck are they talking about autonomous AI in the early 1970s? I think it's always been, Metal Gear has always been hey, something happened and we're now 20 years ahead of actual technology, or even further in some cases. Fucking deal with it. Yeah.
It's just always funny when it's like, oh, you're doing this. Stop spying on me.
Yeah.
But no, again, I wish it was longer. I wish it wasn't $30 when it first came out. I understand all of that criticism. But to me, this was a great, whet your appetite game to want. I just want 5.
Well, okay. Yes, it could have been a little cheaper than $30. But I disagree with there not being enough meat to this game, because from what I've seen, I played on your PS4, you played it on your new Xbox One, which you hadn't done before.
Correct.
When I finished, I was at 7%. When you finished your clean one through, you were at 8%.
When you finished, you were still at my 7%. Thank you very much. But no, I get it. There's a lot, the side ops.
Yeah.
And go through and, see every enemy and go find
do all the trials and whatnot, yeah.
There's a lot of extra filler stuff. But just as far as the missions go, again, obviously we've got into the spoilers at the end of the game. But you get to that mother base and you land and there's a giant firefight. Kind of wish you could control during that. Mm-hmm. Yes, it looked really awesome, but that just would have made, I think, people feel a little bit better if then you had another 20, 30 minutes. It was like, here's the sneaking part of the game, and this is what happens when you get into a firefight. And just the contrast, which is Metal Gear Solid. I think if you could control that last part, I think it would have felt like more of a fuller game. To me.
I can see that point, yeah.
But, again, I really much enjoyed it. And the only complaint I have was the $30, I guess.
So, yeah. I can't really think of too much else to say besides I really wish I had the money to get Phantom Pain right now.
Me too.
This has been a pretty nice month. All in all. I got to play some of my favorite games of all time again. I got to play games that are going to be up there on that list now. Peace Walker.
Yeah.
Because as much as I did love Revegeance, it's not setting the world on fire either. But, kind of wish I could have gone through with some of the plans I had at the start of the month, but hey, life got in the way. Happens. And all that being said, though, it is gonna kind of feel nice to go back to bi-weeklies, which we are doing. We are going to go back to bi-weekly now. And it'll feel nice to go back to playing stuff that is not Metal Gear for a bit. I'm not saying I'm not excited for Phantom Pain anymore. I just kind of feel like, it's maybe a blessing in disguise that we can't go out immediately on the day this is going to release and go buy the Phantom Pain and start playing it, because I just kind of want to...
Yeah, because you think about it, 9 games, we've probably put in nearly 100 hours just into Metal Gear and its lore. It's time to move on to something a little different for a little bit. give ourselves a little bit of a break. And we get to do that next week, or in 2 weeks, excuse me. We also get to come back and talk about Player Nay and all the games there. There's an announcement that we'll probably make on that podcast that we are in the works of planning that I'm really excited about. So stay tuned for that. I can start doing top 10 lists that don't just involve Metal Gear anymore because those are starting to become difficult to come up with. So all in all, absolutely love Metal Gear. It hasn't changed. I probably love it even more now. But I'm also kind of glad it's over.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up for me too. So, we aren't going to announce the games we're going to be playing right now. I will probably post them in kind of an aside or on the Twitter or Facebook in the space between now and the next episode. Or I may just decide to leave it a surprise. Who knows?
Why can't we say it now?
I just kind of figured we would leave this as just kind of Metal Gear stuff.
No! I had a joke.
Okay, fine. Let's do it.
Okay. Don't mess up my joke. It's probably not going to be that good of a joke anymore. But anyways, so the games we're going to play, as far as the games that we are each individually playing, we kind of went the RPG route because we're sick bastards.
Yeah, we have a general template for the rest of the year, and I'm looking at mine, and I'm kind of thinking to myself, what the fuck did I do?
And so, Wes, you are playing
Fallout 2.
Yep, he is starting. He's went from Metal Gear Month to Fallout time.
Yeah.
He's going to be playing the rest of these Fallouts up until the release of Fallout 4.
Which I will then not be able to play because money. But anyway.
So you're doing that. Mine is an RPG, but time-wise doesn't seem as tough. I'm going to be playing the South Park Stick of Truth, which I've heard is awesome. And the game that we are both playing is Remember Me. And no, I'm not talking about that probably terrible love movie that the guy from Twilight's in. Which I just learned is a movie when looking up information for the game Remember Me.
So there was supposed to be a joke there? Or did you just want to...
Well, Robert Pattinson is the joke. He's the punchline.
Future me, just go ahead and put some crickets in right here. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It would have been funnier if I didn't have to say I have a joke. If I didn't have to set up the joke and just hit you with it, it would have been a joke.
No.
Shut up, Wes.
I'm Well, I am laughing at you, but not for the reason you wanted me to.
Oh, just keep laughing. There is a podcast coming up where we each get to pick the other one's game. Don't make me change it to Hotline Miami 2.
Don't make me change mine to fucking Metal Gear Revegeance.
I'm already gonna play it on hard. That's not fair. Fine, you do hard mode on Revegeance. I'm gonna make you play Skyrim and 100% the fucker. We'll go down this road, Wes.
This is how the Backlog Busting Project is going to end. We are going to get into an argument one day, and you're going to go, Hotline Miami, motherfucker, and I'm going to go, Metal Gear Rising Revegeance, bitch! And then there's just going to be sounds of fighting.
I wouldn't have been okay. Whatever. Conquer's the bad one. Revegeance has one fucking button. One button wrong. But it's a bad button problem.
Oh, man. All right.
The fuck out of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Rip headphone users.
Yeah. So that's it. Metal Gear Solid Month's over. 2 weeks. We return to normalcy. Player nays. Hopefully some good games. Some news. If there is some. Maybe. But, Wes, until next time.
Play more games. Wow, it feels odd to say that.
Why would you say that?
It's see you next mission also, but...
Shit, cut that out.
Cut the last 5 minutes out. Jesus.
No, but this is us back to normal.
Wow.
This is what happens when you play as Solid Snake and Naked Snake and Raiden and Boss and Big Boss and Metal Gear and War has changed.
God damn. No, if you play Fallout, it's clearly War never changed.
No, War has changed until you play it, and then it has never changed. That is your fall, sir. After you play these 3 Fallout games, I'm going to ask you, has War really changed or has it not? Because you have played both versions.
Oh my god. This is a clusterfuck. Help me.
Somebody hit the stop button.